You're probably at least aware of who everyone is, but in case you're not, these two on the end should be familiar to you. We've got Amy, who's the writer and director, and I was her co-producer, and also I'm asking questions now. So first of all, Weightless Words, like a lot of independent films, a lot of people are involved. A lot of people either from sharing crowdfunding campaigns online to being behind the camera. So just to sort of get a sense of the people who are here, could anyone who's had any involvement, be it sharing a Facebook post or acting in it, raise their hands?
Or donating, if you do
donating, yeah, absolutely.
A bit higher, come on. There we go, there's the
Right, so
I was involved.
Yeah.
Oh, well done, mate.
So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, and I'm aware I should probably keep an eye on the time because of how much we've got to unpack here. But I'll start first. We've got Chris and we've got Missy here. It's a very... I remember the casting process of this. What was it that you were looking for in actors, and what was it that you found in Chris, Missy, and of course, Rachel?
Well, I think with Lance, I always knew what I was looking for, and it literally is Chris.
Sorry, Chris.
And then
Backhand compliment.
we walked onto the set of Izzy vs. Jess, which is a feature film that we all kind of worked on back in the day, and I kind of looked at him and I was like, well, that's Lance right there, he's looking at me. And then who was next? I think we brought Missy on next. Was that? Yeah, I think the funny thing with Perry is that Perry started off as a bloke. That's not really funny, but started off as a bloke, and then I thought, I don't know, I'm kind of open to it being whoever.
I quite like that you had a gender-neutral name in the script, because even from reading the script, I wasn't sure, and it didn't matter. I think essentially.
Yeah, I was happy just to kind of audition and see who kind of came through the door, and then obviously I had my my baddie on the project, and I had my supporting artist on the project, and then I was like, well, I'm missing the key actress, and that was Terry, and we had a few people come through the door for that one. And everyone was amazing in their own way, but Rachel, who obviously isn't here tonight, came through with her self-tape and just kind of blew our socks off and did a chemistry test with Chris and Missy, and it was meant to be, I think. And
it's quite a fascinating project in the fact that, and we'll delve into this shortly, it's the first project under the London branch of Rocking Horse. So logically, we filmed it in Manchester. We got several actors from Shropshire, and we're premiering it here in Wrexham. But why Manchester?
I visited Manchester. Honestly, I'll tell you what it was, right? After we filmed Izzy vs. Jess, instead of going home, we took a pit stop, but we went up country before we went back down south. It was a weird pit stop. And we stopped up there, and because originally it was like, let's look at London, and then I don't know, there was just something about stepping in Manchester. I felt like, that's where Terry had her first kiss, that's where Lance got his first fist fight, that's where Perry got drunk for the first time, and it just felt like I was in the area of where the characters were living, do you know what I mean? And it just felt right. So let's make it in Manchester.
Yeah, so I'll pass it over to you, Chris. So, first of all, I feel like it's important to say Chris is a lovely, lovely guy. And you tend to get, unfortunately, typecast, don't you, to this
Massively. I'm literally always typecast. Even throughout uni, I was always playing, whether it was a rough bouncer or just, the bad guy. It's never the nice guy who... just anything that's nice, even if it's neutral, just a shop worker, it's always, he's got to be a bad shop worker. And that's just my persona, I guess.
Well, if anyone here is wanting to cast a good guy, we can get a chance.
I can't do it.
Get a chance to break form. But, upon taking on the role of Lance, I guess what made you agree to the project? What stuck out to you as something you wanted to do? Because it's long days, it's not near where you are, it's low budget, so no one gets paid. What made you say yes?
Well, I mean, that's the whole game of the acting industry anyway, really, isn't it? So you've got to work your way up to get those like high-paying jobs. You've got to put like the groundwork in, but we do it because we're passionate about it. But apart from that, the yes came from because it was a good script. Because I enjoyed reading it. There was a lot of intense characterization, and even though I was playing the bad guy again, I was like, oh, okay, here we go. I knew it'd be a good project to work on, and I knew that. Based on what I knew of NASA, that was going to be, did I say good outcome? Yeah, good outcome.
I feel like we have to sort of clear up briefly. If we call Amy NASA, a lot of us met her on a set where she wore a NASA t-shirt. No one knew her name. That was nearly 3 years ago. That's just kind of her thing now. But yeah, it was similar to me, the script. I mean, I normally specialise in comedy, which the eagle-eyed viewers here will realise this isn't. But you sent me the script, I think initially for feedback, and I remember reading it. I think it was on a lunch break in college a couple of years ago, and I was in tears by the end of it, and I was like, I need to work on this. Now, Missy, you had less far to travel. Often just, often just a few feet to get to set. So
get out of my bed.
Yeah. First of all, what led you to the project, and secondly, how can you let us film in your house?
That was up to her. That was not me. No, so I met Gareth first of all, obviously through my audition for Henry House, and then he just randomly messaged me one day saying NASA was here. Didn't even know her name was Amy. Didn't want to audition.
Who's Amy?
Don't know, you know. Again, literally just going to copy what you said, but the writing of the scripts I was blown away by. So I knew straight away that I wanted to jump straight in. And when I had the audition and sent the self-tape off and stuff, and Amy got back to me straight away, like I was well excited to be a part of everything.
And that monologue, it's what people here won't know is that it was one take. We turned up, you went, can I have 5 minutes? And then we clicked roll, and I think we literally cut there, and we were like, you know what, that's it, let's all go home. Which is, there was no more need of let's pick up this, let's do that. How on earth does one learn that and nail it?
A lot of, I don't even know, I was shitting myself like a minute or two before thinking, I don't know half of this thing, and I'm gonna, because the camera was dying, I had no choice but to do it in one take, like it wasn't, so I think we literally had 10 minutes to do it, so yeah, like I said, I took 2 minutes, I needed to just kind of get in my little zone of being depressed, I guess, I don't know, and yeah, it was more, actually the learning of the lines was the hardest bit, because it was that long, not that long, but one piece to be on my own and get it back to back, and I wanted to make sure I did it justice and had every word in there that had been written down, because it was all so powerful. That was the hardest part.
You smashed it. Smashed it.
How was it for you, Nas? The fact that we've, it's always fascinating from the writer's perspective. It can always be very surreal, sometimes terrifying when they get it different to how you pictured it, but having the actors in front of you kind of bringing your characters to life, did they all do it exactly how you expected, or were there certain elements of the characters that the actors brought to it themselves?
I think the thing with writing is you always write and then someone takes it and delivers it a completely different way. But sometimes that's for the better and sometimes that's for the worse, but as a director that's your place to kind of say. Which
is nice in doing writing and directing.
Yeah, but I think what was great with all of my 3 actors is that I gave them a script and kind of said to them, like, show me how you perceive it, act it however you feel like, and then we'll go from there. And it just, everyone brought their own kind of spin to their character, and I think that kind of helped carry, my confidence in my actors, and hopefully that helped build some trust between us, as writers and directors and actors, And we kind of came from there, and it was good.
Because they do say that, if you want to learn about your characters, just ask the actors. The number of times I've written something and then the actors have, done an interview about their character, and they're like, oh, I love how it's really clear that in their history they had, and I'm like, Is there anything you've learned from this process? I'll start with you, and then we'll move along. But anything you've kind of learned that moving on to other films you will do or you won't do?
Don't shoot a film that's more than 50 minutes in 4.5 days.
Yeah.
Big mistake. Big mistake.
But it worked.
It did work. Yeah. A handful of mistakes were made. Like it feels like a massive trial and error kind of project, but at the end of the day, kind of came together half decently, I think. And yeah, you know, there's a lot of stuff to take, but I think the biggest thing is scheduling and timing myself and making sure that every scene gets kind of like the justice it deserves in a way. Because I think there were like a tremendous amount of moments where it was like closing the room, our DOP, she's waving. But there was lots of moments where it was like, we did a massive shot list and we was like, we want, you know, 6 different shots for one scene, and it's like we just had to revert to getting the bare minimum, you know, the shot on Chris and Rachel, for example, and then close up on Chris, close up on Rachel. And, you know, I think if we had the time, if we had given ourselves, you know, another 3 days even, that could have been the difference between having 3 shots to one scene instead of like having 5 instead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I will say regards Chloe is like you're very good at getting stuff in the moment, and like when we're on a tight schedule or anything else, you know, and some of these locations, like that shot on Canal Street where you're having the conversation over your drinks, like it's impressive that it all worked out and went as smoothly as it did, because we turned up, we found the spot, we had to ask permission from the people who ran the spot.
We got randomers from like 10 tables down who were half drunk to ask if they could come into the scene. It was sat behind us, and they behaved marvellously.
And the fact, you know, you couldn't shot list somewhere where you don't even know what it's going to look like. Like, it's impressive. But I'll always remember we were there, and we were right outside a bar, and we thought we'd best ask permission to film outside. And we went over and went in, and they were like, yeah, no, that's fine. And we were just in the middle of setting up, and this manager comes out and goes, excuse me, you filming outside my bar? And it's like, oh no, this is, you know, we were given permission, it's all fine. But no, it's fine, just use that table instead of that one, it looks nicer. But yeah, there's such a creative buzz in Manchester, and like, as we were filming, people were coming up to us, they were asking what we're filming for. Some of them asked to be in the background. I had a stack of release forms, and you know, there was certain people who stuck around to be extra. Certain people who never made it in shot and still stuck around for a couple of hours.
Yeah, and some people even like walked past taking pictures and filming, which was really weird to know.
Yeah, that people, because you'd think in Manchester, you see a camera around every corner. You know, it's like the central creative hub. But yeah, I'll pass it over to you, Chris, as well. Is there anything that you learned from this process? Anything that, watching back the film, you're surprised went well, or you're impressed with or proud of? And similarly, anything that you're kind of looking back and thinking, I'd do this differently?
In terms of, I say, all my acting, I think I always see it as more of a way to learn how to kind of like progress myself as an actor. So I always I guess, overly critical of my performance, but I use that to help me kind of get in the mindset of like later down the line how I'm going to act a different scene, and you see all the little subtleties that you go, why am I just randomly like jolting my head for no reason? And even though it sounds stupid, it'll be those little things that I can take away from when it comes to acting down the line. And also is to learn to cry on cue. Because no one saw it in shot, but I had my contact lens solution.
But Rachel was pouring things in her eyes, wasn't she? And putting Vicks in her eyes.
Yeah, we had Vicks, so I had that on my chest. I even put some under my eyes. I had my contact eye wash. I had that down the side of the couch, so when in between takes, I'd get out, that rub my eyes, and then go, and that's how I cry. But to learn how to cry actually on cue, because I tried. But it failed, so that's why you had the
We could have just told you that you're not having lunch break, and then in you go.
That will just make me mad. And it's the whole characterisation.
Obviously, it's been a year and a half since we shot it. Are there stuff in seeing this now, elements that you don't remember, or are you still watching it and you know line for line like what's going to happen?
No, I remember Oh, I don't know. There's a couple of like little, I guess, cutaways that I don't recall like shooting. There's like, is that me? I don't remember the laptop scene where I'm typing in the middle of the night. I don't remember doing that. But yeah, I think with lines as well, when it comes to remembering lines, there was, when I was back at uni, doing Shakespeare was easy to remember because you're drilling in long monologues, and for the most part, like a year later, I'd still remember that. But when it's smaller lines and it's like more of a duologue or a conversation between more than two people, it's easier to forget. There are some lines that I'll remember, and I do remember, but for the most part, they stay in your head, and then as soon as someone calls it's a wrap, you just kind of
that makes sense. And I guess that's, I suppose, when it comes to Missy and your monologue, I guess that's sort of what's sort of different is a lot of the lines that you have to learn, even though it's an incredibly large amount. It's a conversation. You've got sort of feeder lines to bounce off and kind of, when Rachel says her lines, most of the time your brain goes, oh, this is when I respond this. When you've got the monologue, it's I imagine a completely different process. I mean, I don't know whether anyone else NASA probably would have noticed if you just like skipped a paragraph or something, but you are your own feeder line. So obviously I've covered the monologue, although I could talk about it for a long time. Is there anything that you sort of learned from the process?
Yeah, there's a lot. I think I learn from everything that I ever do. Pretty much like what Chris was saying. I'm really self-critical of everything I do. I'm a perfectionist, so when I watch something like that back, it is literally like the little movements that you see and you think, oh, it's cringy and you don't like it. But then it's good because it just makes you analyse yourself for the next time you're going to get a scene that's similar to that, or even not similar to that, but you can still use it and stuff. And I think I'll just learn. The main thing I think I learned with this was reading the script fully from page 1 through to the end and know, because when you film, obviously you do the scenes in completely random order. Do you know what I mean? And you don't know what's coming before it, what's coming after it in the actual show, because 10 minutes ago we were doing a scene that's the last scene of in the shot. So I think on the day, just going through, knowing what's come before it, because I think sometimes the emotions may be too high or too little depending on the scene that's been before it. So I think that's something I'll take away.
So I want to talk about the ending a little bit. I think it's such a powerful kind of conclusion. And that final line, I mean, I think it's a thing which a lot of people will probably pick up more on rewatch, but Terry never swears in the film. It's that last line where she confesses that she still loves Lance, that you hear her swear for the first time. And I think, the piece of music we had at the start, Tangled in Love, which wonderful musician Phoebe Stokes wrote and produced and performed especially for the film. And there's the line, I hope I don't turn into you. And obviously, Lance has been a bit more foul-mouthed throughout the film. And I think it's such a subtlety. But the fact that once he's gone, she's, at least in a small way, kind of compensating and becoming more like Lance.
It's not a good thing.
So, I guess I'm trying to figure out what my question is. Nas, how do you add these sort of, subtleties? What for you is Terry's arc, and how sort of?
Terry's arc. I think she's just lost. I think she's lost throughout the whole film. I think she's, even when she realises what the best kind of conclusion for her is, she's still lost. And that final line, I remember writing it. I remember I stayed up and just wrote it all, 6 a.m. the next day the film was done.
Like Lance, kind of, in the middle of the night.
And I remember writing that line. It just felt right, because it felt like, even though she's left him, and yes, it's just happened maybe 30 minutes ago in this case, but she's still trying to cling on to something that she's known for the longest time. She's known nothing but his love, nothing but his time, nothing but his presence. As you see the relationship between her and her best friend Perry, it's like, they split apart because of this relationship. So she's literally lost everything. And despite losing it all, she still feels like that's the only place that she belongs. And so to say that, to cling on to something that lanced us so profoundly throughout the film, and to kind of cling on to that last kind of, even though it is a horrible word, sorry Nan, to cling on to that last, like, I still fucking love him. It's keeping him in our heart where he's always been for the past 4 years.
And it helps. I think it is more real than just oh, she's sad now, or oh, she's happy now. But there is I truly believe that life is going on after the film. And so I will conclude on one more question to each of you before we potentially open it up. If anyone's got any questions, think of some. It'd be really awkward if no one puts their hand up. But in case you don't get to ask later on, what's next in store for all of you?
So I'm working, next year I'll be working after we've got one more premiere and potentially another screening of this, and then it's on to the next project. We've got a little film, I say little, it's called Out of Reach, and it's basically about twin brothers, and one brother unfortunately passes away in a very tragic accident, and the other one is kind of coming to terms with the fact that he has to grieve his brother and live life without him, and live life without, one of the people that's been a rock in his life and always been there.
Cheery stuff.
It's quite happy and tragic, but yeah, it's a lot smaller than this film, and all going to be filmed in my little hometown down south, so we can get a London project kind of
from London. Yeah.
So we'll be able to pick there, but yeah, that's what's next for me.
Chris, what's next in store for you?
In terms of acting, due to a few personal reasons, kind of putting it on like the back burner for a bit, but acting's always something I'm going to be passionate about no matter what, so I will find a way to get back to it. But for the time being, acting's not in the back burner. I'm just going to look into like a different avenue, something I can do around like this personal reason. So I'm starting, whether it works or not is a different story, but a clothing brand.
Okay.
Inspired by Norse mythology and like the Viking era. So we'll give that a whirl. See how
Is
that
this your
goes.
way of getting out of playing bad guys? It's just like.
I picked the Viking era. They weren't exactly great people. They went around pillaging, so you can buy us one.
Oh, look at this.
I'll send you some. But I'll need you to model for it.
Yeah.
Cool. So there we go.
Oh, business deal happening right here. So Missy, what's next in store for you?
What's next? Well, I've just done some big commercials down in London for a phone called Oppo and the JD Christmas commercial. But next year coming up, we've got Henry House, which we're obviously very excited about, and I'm also hoping to produce and write and whatever, do a film based on basically I've got a heart condition that's like a hidden disability. Like you'd have no idea unless you told me on a bad day that I'm actually really ill, and I actually use a wheelchair quite a lot. But so basically what we're doing is we're going to make a film, and we're going to hopefully raise loads of awareness about it and make everyone know what it is. And so I'm really excited about that because it's something that I really hold close to my heart, and I hope we can do it justice and get some word out about it.
Not my sketch show now, is it? But, so we'll open to some questions from the audience. Anyone got anything they would like to ask?
Yeah. What was the most difficult part of the production for you? For all three of you?
Yeah, forgot about the mic.
Where do we start? I tell you what. I think it was that rooftop scene. Not in a difficult it was horrible to film. I think more so in the sense of it was the longest day of filming, and it was just. What time did you start? We started at 9.
Do we want to confess this?
Go on.
We started at 9. At AM. We finished at 2 AM. And we had a few breaks throughout. That's independent filmmaking.
Yeah.
We were back at the 6, weren't we?
It was
something like that.
Yeah, it was lovely. It was nice in the end. It was exhausting, and it was. I'm glad it all worked out. But I think that rooftop, there was something about it. I realised as well, it was the end of the.
Yeah.
But there was something about it was the top of a multi-story car park. you know, it was middle of the night. I think, whilst it was the stress of the day, everyone had kind of just like was in. At least on our side, you was directing probably constantly in the panic, but like I remember just really enjoying that point. To be honest,
It was the most out of all the different scenes we filmed. The rooftop had the most different vibe, and I think it was challenging because it was like, you know, as we said earlier, the battery was nearly dead. Everyone was tired. Everyone was like, I've got to be up the next day. Then it was like a few people had to leave because they've got to go home. They've got to get some kit. They haven't, you know, maybe they're hungry or whatever it was.
we did feed them.
We did.
Yeah, we got that.
But like, you know, growing lads and stuff. Anyway, and yeah, so like, you know, people are getting tired, so they're leaving. Obviously, you can't really shove a contract in their face and be like, but you said you'd stay here. So you're kind of losing people, you're losing time, you're losing camera battery, you're losing everything. And it was such a big scene because it was like, when I first wrote the script, I actually found the old version of that scene, and I think I put it in the group chat a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, I'm so glad that's not made the final edit because that was terrible. But it's just a, you know, a credit to how much.
Well, the first draft is always like the splurge it out,
Oh, yeah,
just like
sure.
you just need to put words on a page.
But there was no monologue. It basically went, Rachel was like, I'm sad, and Perry was like, you'll be fine, and that's kind of like how in depth it went. And I was just like, come on, Amy, you're better than that. And then yeah, just one night I just whipped out the monologue and sent it to you know, Luke and Gareth, who has kindly joined us. Sent it to them guys, and they I think they loved it, and then it stayed. So yeah, just knowing that how much the monologue meant, you know, to me and to the film as well, and how kind of just important it was to I think Perry's character especially, because there's a lot more we're going to learn about her one day, and yeah, just to kind of do that properly and do it justice with all of the restrictions we had, it was scary.
Speaking of what you said about how, you know, it was later in the day, some of the crew weren't available, shout out to our boom operator for that scene, Chris.
Oh yeah, that was me. I forgot about that.
We were all sharing an Airbnb, and you were kind of stuck with us to get a lift back, so
I just
it
had
was
to stay, didn't I?
Chris, do you mind holding
Oh yeah,
the
Mike,
mic?
sorry.
And it was, yeah, I mean,
Oh, yeah,
Come on, you've had practice now.
Yeah, no.
I think it sounded great. How did you find your newfound crew role?
I was holding a stick with a mic on the end. It was alright.
You have to press the button to
I had to push buttons. Yeah.
I met NASA when she was holding a stick with a mic.
Yeah.
to be fair.
That's how I met you as well. Yeah, no, I mean, it's fine. I've done a bit of like some sound, like DOP stuff prior, like at uni and that. So I was used to some of like the crew roles. But it is knackering when you're holding the mic, like over your head like that, for like 10 minutes. Your arms get a bit tired. So shout out to anyone who does sound, like fair play.
So anything else from the audience?
Missy.
Oh, Missy. I think
What was the
the
question?
question was directly towards you, and then
It was all three of us.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Remind me your question.
It was all three, yeah.
What did you find
The most
out?
difficult part.
Oh, yes. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
You've got a minute on the camera, by the way.
Oh,
You've got a minute, quick.
Doesn't matter.
Do your monologue.
Doesn't matter.
sounds familiar. It sounds like a
about the hardest part about producing, or any of it,
The whole thing.
the whole thing. Oh,
I guess
gosh.
Missy was our associate producer as
Yes.
well. That.
Yeah, to be fair, finding the rooftop was probably the hardest part of my job. I had to go around Manchester and find a load of rooftops, send a load of pictures to Amy, say which one do you want, find out which postcode was linked to which picture I took. So I'd say that was my hardest job.
Okay.
But yeah.
Anything else? Or Leah.
What was your favourite and worst memory from set? Because I've got mine.
Start with yours.
Yeah.
Leah was one of our production assistants.
Worst memory would be sat at the park on the Wednesday when we were in Manchester. That was the most horrific thing I've ever seen. Chloe, the DOP, just kind of walked away and his camera
yes.
popped
Oh, God,
over.
I'd pop
That
that
was
out.
stressful.
The lens on the camera got a little scratch, and it wasn't her camera. It was all fine, but yeah, it's like almost seeing it in slow mo. It was just like she walked and just off this, yeah. So that's what was your best memory, Leah?
Just meeting everyone and having a really good time. Like, it was a really fun week. And spoons as well.
That was good.
Spoons.
Spoons is always good.
Well, our post-premiere
Yeah.
spoons in a minute will be cracking. But Nas, over to you first then. What was your favourite memory and your least favourite memory?
Favourite memory was getting onto set for the first time, and I think just seeing the space where everything was going to kick off and happen. And then, what scene did we start with? No, we started in the bedroom, that's boring.
You started with the montage, technically.
Well, technically, yeah.
Oh yeah, wasn't it? Yeah, because we shot it
Yeah.
the day prior, didn't we? So we were supposed to just wear the day it was, but we got the day earlier, and we done some of the montage stuff coming from, was it Piccadilly?
Yes.
From our
Yeah.
train station, going home, dodging trams, whatnot. Yeah, that was the day prior.
Yeah, so I think it was the Tuesday then that we did the opening scene that you see when the
Yes.
film first comes on. Seeing it like that, it was really like taking something out of my head and putting it in front of me. It was really weird, but it was really kind of felt like a little kid in a toy shop or something. You know, just yay.
Yeah.
But then my worst memory, maybe the camera falling. That was very like, I don't want to deal with that after this is finished. I think scratching your wall was not very fun. What else did we do wrong? There was an abundance of things.
I didn't expect this Q&A to take this turn. It's
just like little things. Like, that was pretty horrible.
Chris, quick, favourite memory.
I mean, I guess I quite like the bit where, because it was like August when we done it, getting out, going down by the river, so I got to put like just the shirt and like the shorts on, just being out in the sun, and like it was just nice shooting outside. Like throughout uni, you're shooting inside for the most part. I've done a lot of stuff where it's inside. Being outdoors with everyone in the sun was
the
fun.
massive heat wave as well.
Yeah. So I was constantly trying to get a tan.
Yeah, and being ginger, I didn't like that day
Didn't
quite
get
as
a tan.
much. No. Least favourite memory.
Oh, I don't know. I don't really have one.
That should have been your answer, Nas. It should have been.
It was the best place to work. There was no bad memories. It was amazing.
That means the world.
I lied. No, I don't. No, I don't have a bad memory. I mean, there's probably going to be like stressful bits or long days, but it's not necessarily a bad memory or like a bad memory. It's just part and parcel, isn't it?
Yeah.
So.
And Missy.
I don't know, I'm a bit stuck. I genuinely, I know this sounds cliche, but I genuinely enjoyed it all. I know that just sounds like a typical answer, but I love just being creative and just doing acting anyway, so being on set, which one is in your own house and there's just a lot of people there, is weird but really fun at the same time.
I hate how intrusive that is. I think it's a credit that you're fine with it.
Yeah.
And thank you to you as well. I absolutely despise a film crew being in my house, but maybe that's because I know what it's like.
That was the thing, she didn't know what it was going to be until...
Would you have another film crew in your house?
I might do, but I'd move that bloody soap dish out of the bathroom, for God's sake. That's all I could look at when she was doing this in the mirror. I'm thinking, look at that soap dish. Oh my God.
I think the hardest part was staying quiet in the house, because the days where I weren't filming, I'd just be chilling in the house and I'd be on Fortnite or something, and you'd get the bangs or you get the shut up, we're on set. I'm like, okay, mute. The dishwasher would be turned off. But no, it made it all fun in the end. It did. It made it all a laugh and a real good memory for a week that we had.
Yeah, for me, the rooftop I think was my favourite. I remember while we were waiting for the setup, and for some reason I wasn't helping with that, which I probably should have done. Myself and a couple of others, we were just lying in the car park spaces, knowing that it's midnight on the rooftop of a multi-story car park, no cars are going to come. But still there was that sort of edge of you shouldn't normally do this. So that was nice. Maybe I was just exhausted and just finding thrills in the little things. But what I didn't like was when we were shooting that scene that you so loved outside, I got lost in the middle of Manchester. I got sent to go and buy everyone some water, and I took a wrong turn right at the start, and my phone was on 2%, and I was stuck in the middle of a busy high street, unlike Shropshire, people in Manchester aren't quite as keen to give directions and stuff. They were just all sort of ignoring me. And I think Leo, I rang you. I was like, my phone's on 2%. I'm in this one shop. Please tell me you know where it is. And you found me, thankfully. I don't know quite what I would have done at all. It was quite. I didn't enjoy that. That was.
Yeah, we wouldn't have had no water. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely, yeah, and it's. Yeah, I mean, I think by the time I got back, someone else had gone and got the water. But yeah, that was my least favourite. But overall, it was a lovely time.
Poor Gareth was sweating to death.
Yes.
It was a hot day. I had 5 layers on.
And you wouldn't even be able to see him in the final cut. But Gareth joined us as an extra playing the bailiff and decided for some reason, including on the train up.
Can we get this right? I was bald bailiff number 1.
Bald bailiff number 1.
Can we also establish there was only one bald bailiff to begin with? It wasn't like there was a queue of 10 other bald bailiffs ready.
But yeah, you decided even on the train that you, in the heat wave, that you were going to wear like 5 jumpers to look.
I was getting in the number, he had methods, you know? Mysterious actor.
And hence, when I last used Gareth as an extra, I had water poured over his head. Yeah, I think.
Speaking of that scene,
Yes.
do you want to see it?
Have you got it?
Have you got more closer?
Do you want to see Paul Bailiff?
Okay, yeah. So we've Gareth heard that Missy had a monologue in the script and felt like, where's Bald Bailiff One's monologue?
You got a monologue?
I've got it on the film.
I heard about this in the chat and never knew.
Whilst we was filming it.
You wrote yourself a monologue?
No, I wrote it.
Some of the best work.
Where did you get a monologue?
Do you need to get that?
No, that's fine.
Didn't think it was a good idea to piss off your landlord.
Oh, it's a good job I get on with it then, isn't it? Now, instead of tomorrow, do you fancy a drink now?
I could spare an hour.
Which way?
Oh, for fuck's sake, Woman, he's not going to pick up, is he? If he was going to pick up, he would have answered on the second dial. For all we know, he's busy in that barber's, getting that pathetic set of hairstyles for the 5th time today. Yeah, you heard me. 5 times. That is a privilege people like me will never know. What an entitled, what selfish, what hairy bastard. I will find him. I promise you, Susie, I will find this prick. I will make him pay rent, and I will shake him. He has no hair left. I will do right by us. And I will get justice for the... Oi, you hairy rat! Get back here!